This is Image Grand Design, and this is another one of these projects that the Cartoonist Kayfabe fan community put together. This is the COVID book. This is the book that kept so many people sane. And if you want my take on this one, which I'm very proud of, I'm proud of the book and of my take, which is that it's the most elaborate jam comic in the history of the medium. And I made a delightful little ad for it that somehow sort of got lost and never got reprinted in the back and all this stuff. But that's neither here nor there. This is the gift of the Piskor, and this is the second part of the series, the conversation. Um, so what is Grand Design? Grand Design is a series of books that Ed pitched to Marvel via Twitter by tweeting directly to Axel Alonso and saying I should be able to make whatever kind of X-Men book I want. And he made art sort of similar like this, like all the characters lined up. And he very quickly did have that deal where he got to make whatever X-Men book he wanted. It was an X-Men book, unlike a Marvel book, unlike any other, because it was an autorial book. It was on newsprint. It was done with Ed's distinctive Ben Day dot style. And what it does, it takes, I don't know, like the first 280 issues of Uncanny X-Men, 1961 to, I don't know, 91 or whatever. And Ed sort of weaves a grand design story out of it. The term grand design, I'm convinced, was popularized in Ed's head by Chuck D. A lot of what Public Enemy did and does, and what Ed did in terms of marketing and design and self-promotion are very, very similar. And I mean, I can't be the only one who's been on a Public Enemy kick since. Okay, so Grand Design, X-Men Grand Design happened. Jim did Hulk Grand Design. It's much different. What is Grand Design? Because this one is doing a spin, your own spin on the story, sort of. And this one is doing your own spin on the story, sort of. This one's different. I love this one. And then this one by Tom Scioli is also, it's like they all sort of bend the same idea in different ways. The most clear examples that I could find were of like Iceman using hip hop lingo, and like in this one, Tom Scioli does like nods to Power Ranger and Tokusatsu type stuff. That's very obviously he's bringing into it. So anyway, we did our own Grand Design. Ed pitched on Cartoonist Kayfabe Grand Design, Image Grand Design, after we had done the first issue of Wizard, which is underneath. And he pitched a story idea that would sort of take the original Image Comics creators' creations and weave them together in a more Stan Lee continuity-based thing. There would be one story. Every IP would get its own like moment to shine and its own way to participate in the story. And then it would also recap, maybe the first year's worth of content from each of those characters. That way, at least was sort of the way that I interpreted these works when we went into this. It was a very interesting editorial process between what everyone's expectations of Grand Design were and what was actually feasible to make with, I don't know, 30 to 60 people, because there were two different projects over COVID. And I think it took us 18 months, and we got this one out of it, and then this is another edition which has an entirely different book that was more freeform. But I think I also, anyway, there was a lot of interesting editorial massaging of the idea before we decided that it should be split into one that was really, quote, by the book, based on Ed's pitch, and another one, Disaster, that was more freeform but still tied into this. So one is actually a sequel to the other. Okay, great. So we've got this fantastic cover by David Browers. Interior by Chris Johnson. Chris Anderson. Craig C.K., our man, one of my biggest cheerleaders. Craig C.K., thank you for all the kind words, Craig. Opens up with this. Rocco and Craig were really taken by Phantom Force, a Jack Kirby and Image company, like inked by the Image guys kind of story, where Bruce Lee is in it. I don't think he's the main character, but he's in it. A character obviously based on Bruce Lee, and so they were excited by this and ran with it as the prologue. Wow, Jason Wynn of Spawn is the big bad beating up the 70s guy, and then that's our prologue, and then here's all of our credits. And I'm friendly and friends with many of these guys, including my best friend of 35 plus years, and my many good friends of mine. Rick Lopez did a wonderful job doing like 10 plus pages, 10 plus, 18 plus, I don't know how many pages, sort of setting up the story that Ed had discussed, that sets up sort of the origins of the Image universe and the story about this like experimental virus, this bioweapon drug that was Jason Wynn was going to use to create mutants of some such. One of the big things about Grand Design and about Ed's sort of approach to comics was that it was very heavy on homages, and you really get the sense from Ed Piskor's comics, not the sense, I mean, he straight up said it, that he learned to draw by copying comics over and over and over and over again. And Jim Rugg talks about that too, how they would sort of like, oh, this was the panel that I went to town, I did 5 pages of my sketchbook just trying to figure out the lighting on this, you know, this bicep or whatever it is. And I think that approach made Ed very amenable to doing lots and lots of homages. And there were lots of homages in this. And I think that was one of the sort of creative directions that he gave our tribe, was to do a lot of homages. I'm not a huge fan. And I think in this book I do one of them. And when I was done with it, I said, never again. But there are a lot of little nods and homages to Turtles and to this and all this stuff. And Rick did a great job talking about, what's this? It's like Chapel, Shadowhawk, and and Spawn Al Simmons as commandos. This is before they become the guys they become. This is how they all fell out. Boom in the head. I think this is the death. This is the death of Al Simmons. Look at this. See, there's Rick doing his Frank Miller homage, and then the Image, and this is John Romita Jr. More of this. Image is born. This is Gil Kane. I think you can tell because you can see up all the noses, Richard. And Savage Dragon. We'll talk about that in a moment. This is the origin of Spawn by, yeah, right. So it transitions from the death of Al Simmons and here to the origin of Spawn. Sam J. Royale, one of our absolute favorites. We loved doing the Spawn meter like it was a video game fighting counter. Sam walks this really wonderful line between straight up like Frank Frazetta, Jeffrey Jones, like really seriousness, and just like, it's like you can't help but laugh at his stuff. Very funny. His compositions are funny. Here's one of Sam's books that got a bunch of others. That's the other gift of the Piskor, is just that everyone's books are together. Here's Eli's. Man, Eli put a lot of thought into this. There's a lot of nods to Ed and Jim and all these other guys in here. I can't go through this page by page because it's too much. Here is the gift to the Piskor. I met Eli. It was really apparent to Eli and I in, I don't know when we met, 2018, 2019, that we were akin and kindred. And we talked for years about doing a Grendel podcast. And then we started doing it. And we're 120 plus episodes in. And I think that, if you, I started out as America's podcast guest. I don't know how much of this I'm going to end up doing, but I hope you'll join me. And I can't thank Eli enough for giving my training wheels with this series. Okay, so this is some Billy Kincaid stuff. Yeah, this was the idea that we would structure it in a way that every property would get a cover, and then it would get like what we called a book report, where someone would sort of like report on what happened. Now with Youngblood, it's understandable because there's no story in these books. That whoever it was could not be bothered to try to turn into a story. I recognize this character, and I think this character. I can't believe these are. I guess so. This looks like a Megaton type character. Brahma. Oh, okay. Anyway, this is the Wildcat section. Wonderful cover by, I don't know who this is by. Someone great. Erwin Papa, maybe. I'm not sure. And then this is by me, written, penciled, lettered, and colored by me, but inked by Rosalie Higishi, the great Ro Higishi of Half the Crown. She is so great and was so gracious and worked so hard to to give my work this kind of like manga polish as we sort of recapped the entire history of the Wildstorm universe. I got to get into Gen 13. This was one of my favorite Image books as a kid. But the truth is that here's my homage to what the hell is this? Batman Year One. That's the one. Yeah. So I finished this drawing and I said I am never doing another homage again in my life. Oh man. Here's Rick. That's the character, Super Tiger. He's the Bruce Lee character who we through the pure power of 70s nostalgia, we elevated to the forefront of the entire Image universe. And here's Jerome Cabanatuan doing one of his famous fight scene choreography bits. This guy has done a lot of work and has grown a lot and will continue to grow a lot. The Chung Lee kicks right there. Here he is again. You can see it every single time this guy shows up in this book. He's doing something more polished and interesting, and sort of more design focused. This is Nathaniel Grigsty. This guy is the one who really understands what the fuck grand design is about, because in like 7 pages here, he very deftly describes the first 60 issues of Savage Dragon, a book which I haven't read, and I'm frankly surprised to hear how many of my friends love it. But that's been one of the biggest surprises in my in being with this community, is to know how many people absolutely adore this book. That's good for them. And here's one of Nathan's many excellent books. This is Alan Greenwood. This is Super Patriot stuff. Eric Larson is, I like Eric Larson in terms of like soaking up his Jack Kirby DNA. That's the part of Eric Larson that I respond to. The rest, I don't know what any of the rest of this is. When I saw Image Comics as a boy, I tried it and I thought it was odd. This is one of my absolute favorites, most misunderstood, most deep cut, funniest pages in the entire book. It's by Andrew World, I believe, and it's Dracula, and it's only got 2 different panels in it, but this repeats. Dracula taking a call. Hello? Yes, this is Dracula. Who's this? Wetworks? Yes, I'll fight you. Meet me at my castle. And he waits and waits and waits. This is a joke that works on a number of layers. Of course, you have to be at least a little familiar with Willis Portasio's 1992 Image comic Wetworks, which the gold-covered Wetworks, I don't know, SWAT team would fight Draculas and werewolves and whatever, but the book never came out. So that's J. Andrew World, you win this one. This is, who's this Jeff? Oh my God, Jeff K. Killer. I don't know anything about Shadowhawk. I have a couple of Shadowhawks. This is the one that actually came out structurally the way that I was sort of editorially angling for, which is that you have the cover of the book, and then you turn the page, voila, and there's self-contained on this insane 50-panel spread by the great Michael Kemp, is the Shadowhawk grand design. So this to me is like, the Nate Grigsby one is good, but it doesn't have the page turn the way I like. These 3 pages are so like exactly what we were like envisioning when the thing happened. Okay, here's Cyberforce. I don't remember what the deal with this one is. Oh, it was a book report, right. Timmy Brackens. I don't know who that is. Here's an ad for Rick's book. This is, I think this is Alan's. This is Chris Anderson, I think this is Blake Wild, I believe. Blake's stuff, yeah. Look, yeah. If it's wildly inventive, you know it's Blake Wild. I'm pretty sure that says. Don't at me, bro. This is Trencher. Trencher is such a cool book by the recently departed Keith Giffen. I know you can find it on Cartoonist Kayfabe or whatever. Chris Anderson came in. Rocco will sing Chris Anderson's praises to no end. He absolutely loves this this page that he did the fill in. This is the segment. There's about, I'd say this last third of the book or whatever, I'm very, very proud of, because I sort of shepherded and massaged and editorially guided a lot of it. And it started with the sequence that Dove Torben drew, but I wrote and lettered. And it's about Pitt is strung up in, I don't know what it is. Okay, so Youngblood, Wildcats, and Cyberforce are fighting to control this horrible virus, and they're going to experiment. They got Pitt, and they're going to experiment on Pitt with it. Okay, I really, really wanted them having Pitt captured for this scene to be foreshadowed, and for some reason, it was impossible to make that happen. It would have been fantastic. Pitt freaks out and kills all these people, blah, blah, blah. These green, yeah, here's Jason Wynn in the green, talking about the green, and then all the heroes. What's this one? Wildcats, Youngblood, and Cyberforce, all sort of, they all descend en masse. Here's Jason Lapidus coming in. I wrote this very simple page for Lapidus to help hook up what do you fools know of hell? Jason Wynn seeing all these heroes coming to get him, and then David Brower's lettered by Tom Orzechowski, I believe. Get out of town. So that it would link up, so that the page turn, we'd have an audio bridge. And then I did the same thing on the page turn. Now following, I think that me and Brower sort of we had some sort of meeting where we planned out preliminarily what this eventually became. And so then I I took this next page, probably the craziest, densest page I could do, to following Brower's lead is not an easy job, so I really needed to go hard. This is by Rocco and colored by what's his name? Eli, that guy. And then we've got this is Rocco's very proud of this. This is the 2 double-page spreads that you got to buy 2 copies of the book to make the thing happen, just like Steranko, baby. And then this is me, and we wanted to play. This is the Max, and Team Max was a really big part of this book. And it was one of the first and earliest parts. And it was essentially me and Sam J. Royale, Dave Grom, and is there someone else I'm forgetting foolishly? We'll find out. And Eli, basically. And I wanted to play on, in the very opening of the first issue of the Max has a monologue about Cheers, and I wanted to play on that, so I got the Cheers font and just straight up played the theme song. Turn to reveal, boom, there's the Max. This is Eli colored by me, and Eli trusts me, so I went nuts on this. And then this is the cover to the Max. We did a little reverse this way. This is by James Windsor Smith and colored, I believe, by Tony McMillan. James was very, very happy to be able to participate in this, and I feel like there were a lot of people advocating, Rocco especially, like advocated to really try to find a way to make this happen for James. And so what we did is we alternated between this Max sequence and the big fight that was going on outside. And so the way we determined the death order of the fights, the like 6 fight sequence, was it was determined whose book ran the longest. So here we've got Badrock from Youngblood killing, what's his guy? Shadowhawk, because Shadowhawk was canceled first, but I'm sure that Youngblood is next on the chopping block. This is probably the spread I'm most proud of. Done with the fake craft tint graphic duo show type style. Julie and Max getting diner while the fight rages on outside. Yeah, I was really proud of this page. Here's Misi. Really so flattering to turn on Misi, right? So to turn on Misi the way that Ripclaw is turning on. So right. So now Ripclaw is going to kill Badrock. You can see all the Cyberforce people are dead. Misi really understood the storytelling assignment, and he's beating this guy with puts his eyes out, all this stuff. Misi's ability to be like epic and wide and bombastic and big, and also like understated and quiet, even in big action sequences, is so much fun. Great. So there's Misi, right? So now Youngblood's dead. So Cyberforce is going to be like the next book that gets canceled, I suppose. Here's Dave Grum's ad, and here's Dave Grum's Team Max book. And so he took my design for the diner and he followed it very, very well, dropping some Jim Rugg Street Angel Easter eggs in there. And he did a sequence where the Max goes to like a meditative plane, meets the Buddha, who turns out to be Malbolgia, and then the Max and Malbolgia have a knockdown, drag-out fight. Grom's inks and compositions are really, really strong, and his work has like gotten cooler and cooler and cooler. His book about the muscle figures is a lot of fun. Oh, here's more Browers, right? So this is Wildcats killing Cyberforce, because Wildcats ran the next longest, and I think is probably my favorite of the Image books. I had to read a bunch of Wildcats specifically to do this book. I probably actually read maybe 7 issues and a source book, and then like skimmed through the next, like until the Alan Moore run ended. But after this came out, I found myself with an affinity, and I actually got through Douglas Walk, the entire Alan Moore run, which I frankly haven't read yet, and I don't know if I would even really like it. Image Alan Moore is, with the exception of the 1963 stuff, is really foreign to me. So we shall see. I'm very happy to give Browers some shine here. I really like this Prophet helmet redesign. That was the great thing about Browers. It's all like a little bit off model, but in a great way. Although this is very, very tight. His Rip Blade Warclaw. There you go. All right, so back to the Max. There you go. And this really captures a lot of what Sam Keith was doing, a lot of the tone and vibe of the dynamic between Max and Julie. And of course, oh, look at these great shadows. Look at the beautiful silhouette. Grom, I hope I'm the first person to compliment you on this green eyeball. Well done. This is my spread. I think, is this my last spread? Maybe. This is probably, this is insane. I was in a deep meditative state when I did the coloring on these pages, I can tell you. This is Spawn versus, what is this? Spawn killing Warblade? Warblade, yeah. Spawn killing Warblade. I am very cruel to Spawn, and that's about that. And then there's one last page here, right? So there's a hole. He blasts a hole right through him, and I had a hard time with this because I stopped because I was so dissatisfied with my arm anatomy back here. Anatomy is not my thing. Like, this is how I like to draw them. And all my friends, understand how the muscles fit together and all this shit, and I don't. So I'm very insecure. So I stopped drawing this for a number of weeks. But then I came back and finished it because I knew that I'd be sharing the spread with SJR. Sam loves talking about this spread. This is the diner that we actually met at in person for the first time in Jackson Heights, Queens. And when I don't know what it was, I told Sam that the sequence was going to take place in a diner, so he had to go to one to draw it from life. And of course, when I tried to draw the diner, it didn't look that great. But I think I've got another page coming up where did I already do it? Oh no, I got one more page coming up. Here's Sam. Oh, unbelievable. And Sam really played with the themes of the Cheers, Norman Cheers, and all that stuff. I think there's some references to that in there. Watching TV and all that stuff. The two worlds that the Max occupies. Hey, I'm Chris Anderson. Here is Nate Grixty on Savage Dragon Respawn. This was the last fight in the book. The Savage beat down to death. And it basically represents... What does it represent? The fact that both of these books are still running, although who wins this fight? I think Savage Dragon, because Todd McFarlane stopped drawing the book. I think that was our dig at it. This one is choreographed by Jerome Cabanatan, line art by Chris Anderson, and colored by me. The colors are okay. I would definitely desaturate the background colors a lot more if I was going to do it again. But I was learning. Oh, there's a third page, right? And so Spawn, they both kill each other, right? It's heads, yeah. And then what happens in this book? Rick figured out that all this chaos was going to dovetail into the start of The Walking Dead. So like, Savage Dragon has a partner. The gift of the Piskor. Our imaginations went wild together. Savage Dragon's partner is Rick Grimes, and that's what's sort of revealed here. Right, here's Rick Grimes. So our story with the death of all the classic Image characters dovetailed into The Walking Dead, and then Rick very cleverly dovetailed that into the modern era of the 2012. So we got Saga, Paper Girls. I think this is meant to be Deadly. Yeah, Deadly Class, Chew. Oh, so Rick loved this book. I can't remember what this book is called. Tell me in the comments what this book is called. This is Descender and Ascender, Invincible, and then always more Walking Dead. And then this is a Spawn Flag. I'm not sure what this. Yeah, Spawn Flag. Okay. This is like a Death of Superman riff, I guess. And then here is Street Angel, zipping along back out. Look at that great transition. Very Grant Morrison, very Flex Mentallo, Rick Lopez. And then this is season 2 of the Max, never coming out. Hellshock Game Boy game. Who made this one? Oh my God. This is Jerome's book. This is all the creators. And that is Image Grand Design. And that was the gift of the Piskor. There were people in here who are pro comics artists. There are people here who are indie cartoonists. There's people here who are popping off and gaining momentum. There's people in here who are amateur cartoonists and people who have never been published before. I think maybe. Anyway, maybe not. Who knows? That's the gift of the Piskor, and I'm delighted to be able to report that from someone who saw it from the inside. From the inside. Good day.